Welcome to step 5, the launch. Congratulations, we're almost there, just hang in. And in this step, we're going to be covering a 12-point launch checklist, which is a detailed process of everything you need to do before we launch the website. And then we will launch our new website and make it live. Are you ready? Let's go. All right, so we are on the launch step. We're going to go through this checklist, and at the end of this checklist, we will have a live website. So before I dig into this, there are a few things, and I will cover them as I go through them in the checklist, that are extreme basic like overviews. For those things, you're going to be needing to go through the update step and continue on with the training. For example, the search engine optimization training comes next in the step. I need to go through the different things, so when I come to that page, we're just going to cover the basics. For more information, you can follow along when I get the SEO training completed and uploaded for you guys. So the first thing we're going to cover is the legal pages. Of course, I've said this I don't know how many times inside of the training with notifications on all these different pages, but your legal pages are very important. This can truly help you save a lot of money, because if you have the wrong legal pages or the wrong terminology or something, depending on what field or category your business is in, if you don't have specific disclaimers or specific policies or different things in your legal pages, it can cause you to get sued. So the templates I've given you are good templates as they sit, but you need to make sure that you have an attorney look over your legal pages. So the first thing we're going to do for the legal pages is we're going to come into pages in our dashboard, and then we're going to look at the legal pages that came in with the template. We have the terms of use agreement, privacy policy, and earnings disclaimer. The first one I want to cover is earnings disclaimer. This is when I first actually realized the importance of having a disclaimer on your site. It was a story, a gentleman by the name of Frank Kern, who basically lost millions and millions of dollars because he did not have a disclaimer in his website. So the earnings disclaimer is huge. You want to make sure that if you do have any type of affiliate income coming in through your website, selling ads, whatever, you need to make sure that you have an earnings disclaimer. The next thing is a privacy policy. This is a must. This is one of those things, kind of like having the SSL certificate up here. Which you see, it's not 100% secure, and I'm going to get into that here in a second down the checklist, so don't worry. So with the privacy policy, it tells people, transparently what information the website stores. You personally do not, at this point, we've not set anything up as far as analytics or whatever to track the visitors or anything like that, but WordPress by default does track a lot of different things. So the content that came from, or to this template that I've got for you guys came from WordPress. For instance, your comments, and if you have a user account, and all these different things play into what WordPress keeps. So you want to make sure that you have an attorney look this over as well. And then the last thing is terms of use agreement. This has basically been my template that I've used for the last 9 or 10 years. It's very basic. Once again, please make sure that an attorney looks this over for you. Depending on what business that you're going into, you may have to change some of the verbiage. Now, if you wanted to go in and edit any of these, you can go in just simply by clicking on edit. This is going to go ahead and bring up the edit page. And if you want to, you can go through and completely redo a lot of the different text. So if you come down to the bottom on this one, you'll see where it has websiteurl.com/contact. This is where you would need to put in your website. Before you publish the legal pages and start really pushing it, you need to come through and change this URL information for your website. So with this one, let me make sure I'm on the right page here. Okay, so this is the terms of use agreement. So there is going to be only one on this page. And we're going to work backwards and put it up, but we're just going to put www.pyroplex.com and click update. And the contact page is in the same location, so you don't have to change that permalink over here. So we have that done. Now we're going to go back to all pages. We're going to go to privacy policy and click edit. And then we're going to do the same thing here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually type it out once and then copy and paste. So you just www.pyroplex.com. And just make sure you're putting in your website. You could turn these into links if you want. I'm going to just go ahead and leave it as just text. So I'm going to come through and replace this everywhere I see it. And I think there's one more after this, if I remember correctly. Right, yeah. And like I said, you want to make sure an attorney looks this over, because this is where a lot of the legal stuff is happening right now. And of course, a lot of this is, like I said, the template that came from WordPress, but you still want to make sure on everything to play it safe and not have to worry about, any legal issues if you don't have to. So we've updated the privacy policy. We'll go back to the pages, and then I think we just have earnings disclaimer. We'll go edit. And then you're just going to come towards the bottom, and you'll have one spot to change it here. And this is just basically letting people know that you know, and you can see it's anything that's clicked on could result in you making money. Whether it's, like for me, a recommendation to HostJack, even though that technically is the parent over the Digital Bag, and Digital Bag is just a marketing arm for HostJack. But with HostJack, I generate revenue off of that website. Elementor Pro is another one that I do affiliate for, or that I'm affiliate for. So if you purchase Elementor Pro, I'll get a small, affiliate commission. And it's just the transparency that the content generates you money. And it's just one of those things. The Federal Trade Commission went super overload on it. I think it was like 2012 during the last major update. So you just want to make sure you have that information good, published, updated, depending on what is best for you and your business. And then, of course, make sure you have all the different URLs and website names and whatnot that's set up right and correct for your website. So next thing we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take this back to the dashboard. We're going to close this out, and then we're going to come down to the users. So with the users, it's massive that you change this. If you go users, click on all users, and then you'll see we have the original URL, or I'm sorry, the original user here that we created when we started building a website. And if you're looking at yours and do not have a picture, that is set up through Gravatar.com. It's an associate with WordPress.com, which is the standalone WordPress version. Blog only platform, I guess would be the best way to word it. So you can set up an account there and sync it with the email address that you have for this user. And that'll allow you to create the headshots and things of that nature, whatever you want your avatar to be. But we do have this start user. This is a template test user that we need to delete. And the reason for this is the username and password is the same on this as it is all of the other websites that are being built with my template, because that's just a template I had to use for it. So we're going to attribute all content over to the user that we created when we started and click confirm deletion. Now you only have one user, and then you just want to come into your user and click edit. And at this point, you can choose if you want to change colors or, just about anything. List out all your different URLs, put a bio in, change your profile picture via Gravatar, which is what I was just talking about. Change your password, do a title and meta description as far as for what's displayed on the search engine result pages. There's a lot of different things that you can do in here. I'm not going to be going in and, and I mentioned earlier when we were setting this up, if I remember correctly, it has been a while since I've done the other videos for this training. I've been slammed, and because this is the free work, I can't prioritize this over the stuff that is paying bills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back once we get the site launched and everything else, and I'm going to come in and actually completely fill out everything inside of your bio, or should I say inside of my bio, to make sure that everything is filled out and then we have a successful bio. And that's something I will have a separate blog post that will be linked up in this once I finish the video and everything else. Then I'm going to go through every single section inside of your profile for your WordPress accounts. So we can, for your users, should I say. So it'll help you guys get a stronger understanding of everything that you need to have a successfully put together professional profile for your WordPress user. So now that we have that done, and of course, like I said, you want to make sure under all users, especially if you're just now getting started, this is the only user you should have, is the one that we created in the beginning. Don't use any other ones. I would wait before adding new until you get the site launched, and then you can start adding up, if you're going to have multiple writers for blogs or whatever the case may be, you can take care of all of that later. So now that we have the users finished, we're going to come back to the checklist, close that out, and double check content. So there's going to be two different, where are we at here? Check all links. So there's three different really overviews of the website that we're going to be doing in this checklist. And the reason for that is, even after doing 3 checks, there's still a good possibility that you're going to come across something else at a later time. That's totally fine, but I wanted to put 3 in here because it kind of takes it at different levels. But for this one, the main thing is to make sure that the content is good to go as far as, misspellings. You want to make sure that, it makes sense and is readable to the average person. So as I'm looking at this, I want to do a good overview, and as I'm coming down, and I'll tell you right now before I launch, I have a video here that needs to be updated, and that's something that I had mentioned. I remember now mentioning about coming back and doing that, and this is the reason why I wanted to hold off. I want to make sure that you see that if you have issues, these 3 steps of continuing to go back and go over and over the content and the flow of the buttons and links and everything else multiple times is to make sure you get this stuff done. So I'm making a note mentally, we have to get this video done, and I already have a video that I've uploaded and set up for me to actually put there. We'll get to that in a second. So you're going to want to look over the written content, more importantly, now, and make sure that it looks good. There's no, misspellings, which I have the Grammarly app on my phone. On the desktop. I highly recommend when you do write content that you write it with that inside of WordPress. It'll help you so much find some of the smallest issues. Then I got the pictures, and nothing changes there. I got the frequently asked questions. You can kind of look down. You want to make sure that everything content-wise goes together. If you did duplicate one of these, you want to make sure that you're not accidentally putting in the same comment in these drop downs or anything like this. Check mission statement, vision statement's good, and like I said, just go through the list, check everything, see what make sure everything's spelled right. That run through of the home page content looks great. I do not have the about page. The blog is going to be totally separate. If you go into the blog now, of course all you see are the samples. And there will be a separate video training blog post and everything else on customizing the blog index page or the archive page, which is what we're on now. That'll cover a lot more into call to actions and different things that you can do with the page once you get the content rolling. So the last thing we're going to do is check on the contact page. Looking over all the questions, everything else. If you want, you can run a test and just fill out the information and, hit send, check your email, make sure that works properly. Just kind of look over, good solid look over the website the way a customer would look through your website, or the way you would look through someone, in the industry if you're wanting to actually hire somebody for, if you're a plumber and you're trying to hire someone, to put your deck in or whatever the case may be, you have a good understanding of some other business that's close as far as, resembling what your industry is. So think about it as a customer and what they would go through in the process. So, that's checking the links, everything. But right now, main thing was the content. I'll have to come in and change this here in a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and save that for here in a few seconds. Final update. Now, this is where it's going to get a little touchy. We do have quite a few updates since the last time I shot a video while I was going through this. We're going to go ahead and open this in a new tab. You can get to the updates by clicking on the little circle object that's up in the top bar here. Or if you come down inside the dashboard and you hover over dashboard, you can see the updates right here. So if you click on it, it'll automatically jump you straight to the updates page. So there's a few things that we're going to be looking at right now. The first thing is, I like to go from the bottom up. That way I can make sure everything's clean when we install the new version of WordPress and there's no issues and all that fun stuff. And it's not trying to update with older plugins and things to that nature that can very easily break the website. So we're going to start with 2019, needs to be updated. We are not using this, so we're going to go ahead and go into Appearance, and I'm going to go to Themes. We'll open this in a new tab, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this because we do not need the 2019 theme. Currently, you're using Generate Press. I am going to be doing some split testing with the new, I believe it's called the Hello theme from Elementor. It's made by Elementor for the Elementor. It's in the free, WordPress theme category, so you can just download it and install it. So I'm going to be doing some testing with that. I will be videoing as I test speed, time, features, stuff to that nature. Right now, I think I might actually end up moving all my websites over to that, but it is still fairly new and I need to do some research before I recommend everyone else do it. So that being said, we have our theme deleted. So we're going to go back to our updates. Make sure all themes are up to date. Now we have the plugins, and here's the biggest thing. You want to make sure that you check the compatibility. This is where I need you to pay attention. There are some that is not going to show if it's compatible or not. You need to make sure if you go ahead to upgrade or update the plugin that you know that that plugin is safe. And there's only a few ways to do it. The only way I like to say go ahead if it's unknown or whatever is if you know the developer or you know the quality of their work. So there's a few things we're going to look at. We're going to start with auto optimize. That's what I call it. I have no idea how to actually pronounce it because it messes with me with the 1-0. Anyways, it's 100%. We're going to go ahead and check that. Next thing, black hole for bad bots, 100%. We'll check that. Cloudflare, unknown. This is the tricky one. If you're going to use Cloudflare, by all means, check this and update, but that is only if you plan on using Cloudflare. And the reason why I say that is if you're using a managed WordPress, which is a separate style of hosting that I will be covering in a separate training in the update, it's the same price as the cPanel hosting, but it is exclusively WordPress hosting. There's some different changes, and the reason why I chose to go with the cPanel is I wanted to go 100% time and cost, and that's the reason why I went that way, because you can get a free SSL paying month to month with the cPanel package. And with the managed WordPress, I could not find a way around having a template built for you guys so you guys can go ahead and jump straight in with all the plugins installed. So I chose to go with the cPanel for that reason. Like I said, I will be doing other videos to show managed WordPress. If you guys wish to use that as well, you can switch over from the cPanel hosting at a later time if you need to. All you have to do is call into HostJack and they'll walk you through it. So I am going to uncheck Cloudflare because I'm not going to use Cloudflare on this website. If I do, I will reinstall it and do a video tutorial to show you guys how to set it up and all that other fun stuff. The next thing is compress JPEG and PNG images. This is the Tiny PNG plugin. I've never had an issue with it. I'm going to go ahead and check on it to update that. Duplicator, I'm going to go ahead and check to update that. This is how we're going to make our backups of our website. Elementor, we'll check on that. Insert headers and footers. This is what we're going to use to put in our Google Analytics codes and all these other different things that we may use moving forward. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll keep pretty links, really simple SSL and Yoast SEO. And we're going to click Update Plugins. Now keep in mind, there are some times that this can take an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on how long it's been since the last time you updated your plugins. And it also depends on how big the updates actually are. Some updates are 1 or 2 lines in code. Some updates are basically a brand new plugin. So you just want to keep that in mind. Don't freak out if it takes a long time. The only thing you need to know for a fact is do not close this window. Do not open another tab. Leave it on that window and don't do anything else until it's finished. If at one point you realize that it's not thinking, if you will, where it has little animations or it's got the X like it's still rendering, and of course, here you see it's, finished, but if you see it and it goes forever and ever and it looks like nothing is happening and you're just sitting with like the circle wheel instead of the X that was there a minute ago, like the page is finished but it's still nothing there, then open a new tab. Make sure you keep that window open it or tab open, whatever. Open a new tab or a new window and go to the dashboard URL. And from there, if the dashboard opens, then go ahead and go back to the updates and make sure that it shows that there's no plugins or theme or whatever it is that was updating that needs to be updated. And make sure everything looks rock solid, and then you should be good to go. But looking here, we have everything is updated all the way down the list. We're going to return to the WordPress updates page, and this is the tricky one. So, as you noticed in the list was Elementor, but Elementor Pro was not in that list. So, if you look here, it still shows Cloudflare needs to be updated, and like I said, I don't think I'm going to be using that on this. So, I'm going to go ahead and go into plugins, and I want to show you the reason why. First of all, we're going to go ahead and delete Cloudflare. Click OK. And now we're going to come down to Elementor. And if you notice, Elementor Pro shows that there's an update here, but it doesn't under the plugins. The updates page. So you want to just click on Update Now. And you can update the other plugins coming through this page one at a time if you would. But I personally prefer going through the actual updates page because I get to see it all in one big picture. So now that we have that updated and the other plugin deleted, we're going to go ahead and go back to the updates page and update WordPress. Updating WordPress is very simple as long as you continue to use the systems that I've put in place for you guys. All you need to do is come over to the Update Now section and click on Update Now. Just a quick disclaimer, depending on the version of WordPress that you're upgrading to, you may find that the update can take up to 25-30 minutes, sometimes longer, also depending on the internet speed and the speed of your servers. So don't freak out, but it's just another one of those. Leave the window open, keep going. But now that we have updated WordPress, we're going to come back up and click on Dashboard. And then we're going to come back up to the checklist and move on to the next section. This is responsive website check. So what we're going to do is take a second and go through the pages in mobile view. So the way to do that is open the website itself, and we're going to do this maybe. All right, so now we have it in its own window. So we're going to come down to the side and we're going to right click. We're going to do inspect element. And then we're going to click on this little icon right here, and it's going to turn it into a responsive, almost like a smartphone view. You can come up here, change the different, do different settings. If you're using, yeah, here we go. If you're on the far left, and this is on Firefox, and I know this also works inside of Chrome. I'm not sure about any of the other browsers, but I know these two actually work. And you could just come in here and put iPhone. And then now, if you close this out, you're seeing the entire website the way you would from an iPhone. The design, the way it looks, everything. So of course we see, and I'm going to go ahead and exit that out. We see the logo is really small. And this is just the drop down for the menu to show up, which to me is fine that way, but I don't like the color, so I need to go in and change the color. Then we'll just continue to kind of go down the page and make sure it all kind of looks clean. I like the look so far. Everything's, centered. Nothing's totally out of place. Yep. To me, it's good to go with the exception. Now, footer to me looks good. I like the footer. It's spaced right. Logo is big enough. But I didn't get the header right. This is why we go through and continue to go through the website in different formats. So now I know I need to change that. So we're going to go in. We're going to update the header. All right, so we are in the dashboard. I'm going to come over to templates and go to theme builder, and we're going to get started with the header, testing the mobile layout because I did not like the way it looked. So we're going to go ahead and click on edit with Elementor. Now that we're here, we're going to take a look at the way this sits, and then we're going to actually come into responsive mode and put it on mobile. And there's the look that we got that we don't like. So from here, what you can do is you can actually get started and come in here and go to style, and then you can change the width. So if you wanted to go to percentage, you can put it 100%, and that'll take up the full width of that box. So at this point, if you wanted to, well, it's making it complicated. But at this point, you can actually, change the size. Maybe not. Let's see if we can do it now. It's just too small for it to actually register for some reason. But anyways, you can move, you can move this down. I think you should be able to put, let's do 15. And then we'll take this up to 85. And then that way, that gives you the bigger look of the logo. The menu's off to the side, gives it a cleaner look. And then from here, we're just going to go ahead and click update, and we're good to go. So the next thing we're going to need to do, excuse me, is I'm going to come back in the dashboard. We're going to go to all pages, and then I'm going to come down to the front page and click edit with Elementor, and we're going to get that video put in. And so I'm going to come down and grab the URL of the YouTube video, which, by the way, let me go ahead and pull this back up. If you just click on share under a YouTube video, then you just click copy, and you'll get the short URL. Excuse me. You'll get the short URL that you needed for embedding and things of that nature. So we're going to come onto the page. We're going to click the pencil for the video. We're going to change the video link out. And then you just need to do an image overlay. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to plus. And upload. And I have a thumbnail that I'm going to use. Make sure we do the alt text. Oh. Okay, there we go. All right, alt text is Post Malone would burn it. Description, we'll do featured image for Post Malone would All right. Excuse me. So we'll insert media, and that's going to put that as the thumbnail. And right now I'm not liking it because we have this white background here, so that's something I'm going to have to change at some point. Right now I'm good with the way that looks. And you could even, if you wanted to, just to give you a good idea of how this would work, you can come in here, you can go into style, and this is what I'm going to do so it, make it look better. And then you're going to just change the background color to white. And that basically takes care of the whole, well, let's just click on it there. And that takes care of that border where it just looked out of place, because now it's a white background and then the thumbnail just kind of pops out at you. And then from there, if you wanted to, you can come into advanced, and all this is going to be covered in the super Elementor guide that I'm working on. It's going to have individual lessons for every single thing that you can do inside of it. So we can come in here, add some spacing or padding, do 25. That gives it a good spacing the whole way around. And if you want, you can come down to, where we at? Style, and then come down to background or border. And then you can hit this, which gives it like a drop shadow in the background around the outside of it. So we have that, and I'm going to do one more run through while I'm in here just to double check, make sure everything looks good, and then from here we'll go ahead and update. So we have the home page so far looking good. We got the header we just went through. Everything else is good. The only thing, once you get your privacy policy updated, is getting rid of this. I'm going to keep this live and not agree to this yet. And I have this on a private browser settings, so it doesn't save all the cache, so I can see everything right as I'm going through the lessons for you guys. So but once you click agree, this is gone. But I would recommend just keep this up until right before we launch the site, and then you can kind of go through it all here in a few minutes. So now that we got that, we'll go back to launch a website, and then we're going to do the cross browser compatibility test. There are a lot of different things that you can use, tools and stuff online. There's some paid, there's some free. My personal favorite thing to do is test it on the main browsers. Now, for me, it's easy. I can do Firefox, I can do Chrome, I can do, Internet Explorer, Safari, depending on what I'm using. But for right now, I'm going to just do an incognito window in Chrome. And I like to test Chrome and Firefox. Outside of those two, I really don't worry with it because it kind of works hand in hand with the other two. I've not, in my, since I've been doing websites and cross, browser compatibility tests and things of that nature, probably 2010, 2011, I might have come across one or two websites that had like one little small issue. And since I've been with Elementor and building out the way I'm doing it and the way we're building our website for the Blitz Challenge, I've not seen any cross-browser compatibility issues. But we're going to come in here. We're going to just do pyroplex.com. Everything shows. I mean, it is a coming soon page. You're not going to see the whole thing because you're not logged in. But you want to just make sure that it displays. You're good to go. We can come back and do another search on all this stuff once we actually go live. Next thing is secure your website. If you do not have the padlock, when you're on your website, if you don't have this padlock or it has a little error, there's a few things that you can do. There is a step that we could have done earlier, but I didn't do that one on purpose because I wanted to show you guys this amazing tool that'll help you guys out and understand what's going on in your website. So basically, if you open up a new tab and you put in whynopadlock.com, that's going to answer the majority of your questions. So what you need to do is you need to actually grab the URL and put the URL with the HTTPS in this bar. Agree that you're not a robot. All images with parking meters. And test page. This is going to go through and read all the code on your website and make sure everything is set properly. And it will tell you if it is or if it isn't. Now you can see here, now here's a soft failure, and we'll get into what that is in a second. You'll see force HTTPS. It's showing that's good. It may come up failed. There's a lot of different things, but the main thing that we're seeing now, is this image with an insecure URL. And when you have that issue, basically it's loading in the code as HTTP instead of HTTPS. If that is an issue, that can be fixed very easily. And what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and copy this so we have the URL. So what we're going to need to do here is we'll just go back to the website, get into the dashboard, and we're going to come under Elementor. We're going to click on Elementor or hover over Elementor and go down to Tools. And then we're going to click on Replace URL. Then we're going to start, I'm going to paste it in over here because it has the S for the secure protocol. I'm going to paste it in here, but I'm going to come over to this one and I'm going to delete the S. So it's changing any link that it finds that doesn't have the S and adds the S. All you're going to do is just click Replace URL. And it showed there was 13 rows affected. Could have been something I did. I'm not sure. It wasn't, in my opinion, if it's just that and that's all you got to fix, it's not worth digging into. But I'm going to go ahead and click OK. We're going to come back over here and we're going to I'm not a robot. And then click the squares with the fire hydrant. There we go. I am not a robot. And next. Sidewalks. Okay, verify. Let's see. There we go. All right. And test again. And you just want to keep going through here until it gives you an all clear. The one thing, I was saying earlier that I did not actually get through. And it shows everything passed, but it's something we need. So I'm going to come in here. We're going to go to Dashboard. And we're going to go into the plugins. And then if you come down, you'll see really simple SSL. You'll want to activate that. Now that you've activated, you're going to simply click Go Ahead, Activate SSL. And what this is going to do is it's going to force that S on everything that's displayed on the website to make sure that you're secure. So if you go back to the home page, you get the green lock, solid, ready to roll. And, and it forces it everywhere. So if you come back, and the downside with doing that is it's going to show that it's forced now and it kicks us out. So let's go ahead and move this over here. And I'll go ahead and log in. All right, so now that we're logged in, bring this back over here. We can come back down and visit site. Let's go ahead. All right, now if we look at it, come down and do I think it's this one. Yes. And we're going to refresh this and look at this again to see how it looks now that we fixed there we go. Now that we fixed the logo to be fuller, take up more space, more real estate. I like the way that looks. Video looks sharp in there. Like I'm solid with the design, and it is responsive and ready to roll. So we're going to move this back over here. We're going to go back to the checklist. They're going to have changed the admin email. This is one of those things very frequently is super easy to forget. And you want to make sure that you don't forget it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come down to settings and go in general. And then you want to make sure that this email address is set to the right email address for the administrator of this website. So if it's you, if your husband or wife or nephew or whoever it is that's helping you do the website, if it's not you, then you need to make sure that email address is there. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my Gmail address. because that is my main email that I check all the time, and I want to make sure that I have access to anything that happens with this site, so that's the way it actually confirms. So now that I've put that in, I'm going to click Save Changes. It's going to send you an email, and when it sends you the email, it's basically going to be one of those things like, hey, you need to verify that this is you and that you want to actually use this email address. Click here, verify. Follow along with what the email tells you to do, and then you'll be good to go. I'm not going to actually do that right now because I have way too many work emails coming through right now, and I need to take a break from that. So if I open that up, then my mind's going to get to work, and I'm not going to be able to provide good content for you. Now that we've done that, we'll come back up here. Page speed test. Now this is where it starts getting tricky. Of course, the TinyPNG app, plugin is very important to have. It can help you optimize your images on the fly inside of WordPress. But before we get into anything massive, the first thing that we have to do is actually see how fast it takes to load our website. So we are on gtmetrics.com. And if you come over to the website, let's open this up so I can get the clean URL and copy. Now, of course, this is only going to show the coming soon page, so it's not that big of an issue. You're not going to get a true reading here, but the speed may show that you have another issue that we are overlooking. So we're going to go ahead and put in our URL and click on Analyze. It runs automatically out of Vancouver, Canada, which you can change if you want to set up a free account with GTmetrix. You can set basics, but we're just leaving it as it is. So if you come in here and look, 1.5 seconds, why slow score, and this is stuff that, using a content delivery network, so something like a managed WordPress or a Cloudflare service, something like that would help get rid of a lot of these different things. Page speed, everything looks solid. You have a couple in the low 90s you may want to look into updating, but for the most, this looks good. I normally don't care what the load time is because that obviously is going to be different considering that it's loading from Canada and considering this is, an entire country away and it's still loading in 1.5 seconds. I'm pretty happy with those numbers, so I'm pretty comfortable that there's no issues with the website. So as far as speed, optimization should be good to go. So we're going to go back to the checklist. And the next thing is to check all links. And what this is for is it's back to testing the website again. But what we're testing is to make sure everything that you have listed as a link goes to where it should go. So you're not accidentally leaving basic links that do nothing. So we're going to start with the header, the footer first, and then we're going to go in the middle and worry about the content in the middle. So we're checking the header. We have, of course, the logo will go to the home page, so it's just going to be the primary domain. We'll look at the home button. It's going to the primary domain, and then the blog, contact, and whatever other pages you have. 99.99999% of the time, your menu and your logo are going to be fine because those are called to those pages specifically. But once in a blue moon, you may see an issue. If you have social media icons listed, you want to make sure that you go through those, test those links, make sure that they go to the right profile for your business or brand. Then we're going to come straight down to the footer, do the same thing. I'm going to X this. Let's try this again. You want to look and see, I have this set up just as text with no links, so I'm not worried about that. We have our small disclaimer in the footer, and of course we go privacy policy. And the way I can tell, if you can see down here in the bottom left-hand corner, as you hover over the links, it'll show you the permalink. So we're good there, logo's good, and now it's just coming through with the different links to the page. I don't really have any internal links. Aside from the images linking to a bigger image, so if you click on it, it'll blow it up a little bit. but that's not something that we're really going to be concerned with. Link-wise, that does what it's supposed to do, and that's all that matters. And then from here, you're just going through each page, looking at every link, and making sure everything works. This would be perfect time, if you haven't yet, do another test run for the contact page to make sure that the contact email comes through to you. You're good to go. We've gone through all of the pages. Let's go back to the checklist and see what we got next. Next thing is the SEO site check. And this is going to be where I cover the very basics just for you to get through to launch your site, and we can go back and fine tune everything later. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to our pages and we're going to open up our home page by clicking the edit button, and I'm going to do this in a new tab. And then we're going to go ahead and start filling stuff out. Now, the page content itself, all of that we did in Elementor already. So we're going to just come down here and we're going to work in this section right here. This is where we're going to be putting together exactly what people will see when they see your website in the search engine results, specifically through Google. So you want to keep an eye as you enter all the content that you're going to have here and make sure that you don't go over, but you also want to make sure that you keep it as close to the estimated length as possible to make sure you get your message across and pique their interest to make them click on your link. So we're going to go ahead and click right here. This is going to open up the title, slug, and meta description. So what we're going to do is the meta description is just going to be what you see at the bottom when Google shows your website. You get to control this when it's here. If you do not do this, it's going to pull whatever content it thinks is the most relevant off of your homepage. Sometimes it's not a problem. It'll pull the perfect thing and it'll get a person to click through to your website. But there are other times when it may pull information that really makes no sense. A caption from a picture at the bottom of the page. Google does what it wants. So you need to make sure that you guide them along the way to let your customers know what these pages are about. So we're going to go ahead and put in the description. All right, so I have a quick description put together. We have the title, the slug, and then we're going to come down to the cornerstone content section. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to actually look and make sure mark as cornerstone content. This is only going to be for the most important pieces of your website. This is something I've been working on, some training that I'm getting ready to put together for you guys for content marketing. The best way I can word it is you're going to have, on average, 3 to 4 cornerstone pages. They're very important. And you're going to have 3 to 4 cornerstone pieces of content as far as blog posts. And those all basically are what everything else funnels through, if that makes sense. So you want to make sure when you do have content that's very important and your home page is the most important page on your website, you want to make sure that you mark it as cornerstone content. Now from there, now that we have done that, we're going to click update. And so I don't take up any more of your time, you'll need to go back through every page, every blog post that you have up that you've not yet had a time to, whatever the case may be, and go through and get that done. Now, when it comes to blog posts, you do need to make sure that your blog posts are your blog posts and not the template. So we will be having to go back through that here in a second. But for right now, what we're working on is getting the site check done for the SEO. And then the last thing, and this is where we're getting to the full click for click, everything walkthrough. What this is going to do is let us know we need to go through every single button that we can find on the surface, in the dashboard, everything, and double check every piece of content that we see. We know because we have been going through the different internal pages or the visible pages from the front end. Everything looks good. We've tested it, but we're going to one more quick run through. So we're looking at the home page. We're just glancing through, making sure everything looks good and there's no major issues or something that you missed one last time. Everything looks good for me. So I'm going to come back to the top. I'm going to click on blog. Now we're going to see the templates. So in this, because this is the complete click for click walkthrough, we understand at this point, I don't need a blog page. I don't have any blog posts ready. I don't really need it. So I can get rid of the blog page here as well as this sample blog post because we've already designed what that looks like and we don't need the sample information anymore. So we can go ahead at this point, realize we need to get rid of that in the menu. So we're going to come back. We're going to go to Appearance and Menus, and we're going to get rid of the blog index or archive page. So we're going to just drop down and click Remove. We don't want to delete the page because I plan on blogging in the future, but removing it will take that link away from that page so it doesn't display. And because I don't have that anywhere else on the website, they're not going to see the blog post. The only way they could have saw it is in the header, based on the way I designed everything. So removing this will take care of showing that page anywhere, so I don't have to do anything else as far as that's concerned until I get deep into that training that I told you about earlier for the blog archive page and CDAs and all that other stuff. But for now, we're going to go ahead and come up to posts, and we're going to go ahead and remove these three. So we're going to just click this to do the bulk actions, and we're going to move to trash and click apply. Once those are thrown into the trash, we're going to come over and click on trash and click all and delete permanently and apply. Take that out to the dumpster and forget about it. All right. So now that we have that done, we can come back into contact page. We've already gone through all this. We know this stuff works. You should have already tested out your contact form. If you have not, now is the last time to do this because it's about time. So now that we've done that, we've updated everything. We've gone through, we've done the site check. We've went through everything. On the front end, I almost forgot to do the back end. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to the dashboard. And we're going to just overview everything, just to rack our minds and make sure we have everything taken care of in the way that we need it. So, of course, home is dashboard. There's nothing here you really need to worry about. Updates. We already updated everything earlier in this video. So next thing is our posts. We just deleted all the posts, so we can come into categories. This is where you may want to come in and add new categories. If you need to add new categories for your blogging and whatnot, that's a totally different beast of a ball game when you start digging through all the different categories. Your tags are going to automatically generate as you put up a new blog post, so you don't need to necessarily add them here. Media, this is where you're going to want to delete some stuff if you used any of the templates. As you look at this, you can see some of the images from the templates I've used are still here. Anything that you don't use, I don't use this image, you want to delete. Okay. I don't want to use the sample blog post images, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those permanently as well. And you just want to go through anything that you personally didn't upload to the site and get rid of it. And the reason for that is you don't want to store these it's only like this one is 8 kilobytes, but that's still extra storage on your server that, this is 680, like this stuff is big. No sense in storing it there if you don't need it. And since you're not live yet, you don't have to worry about these becoming broken links with the search engines or anything, because right now all you have is the coming soon page. So this will make the website lighter, make the website load faster, and be better for you in the long run. It's going to be a little time consuming, so I'm going to go ahead and go through and delete the rest of these. Well, actually, I didn't realize I don't have too many more, so I'm going to just keep y'all on the horn. But as you go through and you delete these, of course, double check and make sure you're not deleting something that, on accident. But as you go through, you do these, visually think about where these were. And make sure that, if you go back and accidentally see something removed or something, because we're going to do one more run through on the surface. Very quick one. Here as soon as we finish this last section or this last image. All right, now all those images I uploaded. So now we're going to go pages. And I'm going to do one more walkthrough on all that. Comments, because it's outside, inside, outside. At least that's the way I like to do it. We don't have comments set up right now. Or nobody's commented because we don't have any posts for people to comment on. Elementor, you won't need to go in there. Templates, we've already gone through those. Appearance, the only thing left is, you may want to double check on the theme since we updated. Yeah, we're good. Sometimes when you update WordPress, it'll force install the new theme from WordPress, the new default. So you may have to come in and delete that. Other than that, as you come through, you're looking, everything looks good. You want to make sure nothing else needs to be updated in the back end, like in the plugins page as well. Users, only have the one user, won't be going into tools. Settings, you may want to come into general. Double check that we're on SS. You'll want to make sure that you verify that this is set up. So you'll see the email is going to look something like this. If you did put in for the request, it's going to ask you, click on that to make it official. Then you're going to want to log in, put in your username, password, and click login. And once you do that, your email should be 100% confirmed. So if I come in here and I just refresh, bam, we have the new email addresses set up. So now we can just come through. Don't have to save changes. It's already saved. And then now, let's see, writing, we're good. Don't need nothing. Media permalinks, privacy, good here. And then the rest of this you don't really need. The last thing that I recommend you do, actually, no, that's part of the checklist. Hold on. Getting ahead of myself. All right, so now that we've actually gone through that, there we go, we're getting close. We're going to go back to the home page. And we're going to do one last walkthrough to make sure we didn't accidentally delete any content. So you want to check your logos, check any of the images, the background images, things to that nature. Just glance through as you're going through everything. Make sure everything looks good. Everything good? Well, let's go to contact. Double check. All right. So now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and click agree so we can get this off of the page. And then if you want to do another walkthrough after you agreed, by all means, go right ahead so you can see the entire setup. But now if we come back here, the next step is going to be disable the coming soon page. It's time. So we're going to come back to the dashboard and I'll walk you through where we're at and where we're going. So now we're going to go to Elementor and go to Tools. Then we're going to come up to Maintenance Mode. And then we're going to come to Choose Mode. In the drop down, click on Disabled. And then click on Save Changes. And now that coming soon page is down and your website is live. Now, there's two things before it's officially launched. One, you have to make a backup of where it sits right now. That is what I have set up for you guys with the Duplicator app. This is how we installed the template that I put together for you guys. Just click on Duplicator. I can't talk right now. And then we're going to come up to the top right-hand corner, click on Create New. You're going to have a chance to actually give it a name if you want. I'm not going to touch it. We're good just the way it is. We're going to just come down and click on Next. Now it's going to scan the site to make sure everything's good and you're ready to go ahead and make the package. We're going to click Yes, continue on the build process and click Build. This is going to go ahead and take all your information, your databases, your images, everything, and build it into a compressed file that you can use as a backup of this website should anything happen to it. So this literally is your most valuable possession because all the work that we've done up until this point is going to be saved right here. And so as you're dealing with that saved file, it would always be smart to take this file that it's making for us right now, put one in Dropbox, throw one on a thumb drive that you carry, in your bag or in your pocket all the time. upload one to the Google Cloud, email one to yourself, save one on your desktop and your laptop, like spread it around, because this is going to get you back to square one. Anytime you do drastic changes to the website, add a couple pages, put up new blog posts, things of that nature, this is where the updates come into play, allowing us to actually go back to that one key moment and keeping us from having to rebuild the website or start from scratch, heaven forbid, or redo a couple pages here and there. If you do lose some work, you'll have that capability of saving the majority of your work. This can take a while, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and I'll be back when the package finishes. We have completed the build process. Now you just need to simply click on installer. This is going to go ahead and download the installer.php file that you need for this. So we're going to go ahead and click on save file and OK. The next thing you're going to do is click on archive, save that file as well. And now that you have backup files, you'll just simply need to come back up to the dashboard again. We'll come back here, and it says launch your website. Guess what? You're done. So now basically it's just time to tell people, start driving that traffic. If you have finished this, there's a few things I would like to know what it looks like, or I would like to know that you used the training. Shoot me a link over on Twitter at CJ Halleck. I'd love to come over and take a look at it, give you some feedback if need be. If there's any way I can help, feel free. Shoot me a question if you guys have any questions. And also, be sure to let your friends and family know. When starting a business, they are the core of your success. You have to get yourself some people who support you. And if it's not your friends or family, find some support groups online. There's a bunch of them. Go on Twitter, start looking around for other people in your field, network, engage, let the world know that you just built your website, and I will see you in step 6.